Morning. Thank you all for joining us here today to celebrate the heroes of the trucking industry, the professional truck drivers. I'm Gary Langston, president of the Indiana Motor Truck Association. This week is National Truck Driver Appreciation Week. Created by the American Trucking Associations, this week shines a spotlight on the essential men and women who ensure Hoosiers have food and other critical supplies we all need to live our daily lives. Their tireless efforts ensure Indiana continues to be a state that works. Before we hear from our speakers, I would like to welcome a few special guests who have joined us today to celebrate these professionals. From the Indiana State Police Commercial Vehicle Enforcement Division, we have Major Smithers. He's the guy with the uniform. We're very pleased to have our 2019 IMTA Driver of the Year, Daryl Roarick from Grammar Industries, Logistics. And any other drivers that are here today, would you please raise your hands? We really appreciate you being here. We have some members of our IMTA Executive Committee and Board of Directors. Would you all please raise your hands? Thank you all for being here and helping to support this important event. The professional truck driver was designated as an essential employee during the pandemic. Truth is, the professional truck driver has always been and will continue to be essential long after the pandemic is over. Indiana's professional men and women truck drivers are the bloodlines that keep the heart of this great state and our nation moving forward by safely and securely delivering the goods and materials Hoosiers need to live their lives. These unsung heroes have been behind the scenes delivering their loads, going for the most part unnoticed for what they do. Today, we are here to bring them into the forefront and to give them the recognition they so deserve. To highlight the vital role these men and women have filled through the ages of trucking, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Charles Shorty Whittington. Founder of Grammar Logistics, Shorty is an icon in the trucking industry. For more than 45 years, Shorty has been a trucking industry champion, serving as the IMTA chairman in 1999 and the American Trucking Association's chairman in 2009. Shorty Whittington.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gary. I certainly appreciate it. I think it's a real honor to stand up here in front of such an elite group of people. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. You've heard me tell several jokes as I do different things, and I guess as I get a little older, I kind of sympathize with my old friend George that married a 29-year-old woman here about 6 months ago, and I was at their wedding, and I seen him a couple days later, and I said, "George, how'd it go?" And he said, "Well, you were there, you seen it." And I said, "No, how did it really go?" And he said, "Well, Shorty, after the party, we went home," and she said, we walked in the door, and she said, "You want to go upstairs and have sex?" And he said, "Well, we can do either or. We can stay here or go upstairs." So I feel a little bit intimidated by being here, but I think there's some numbers that you're going to have in the handouts that Kelly's done a great job with of what the size of this industry really is for the state of Indiana. There's 191,000 plus trucking jobs in Indiana. One in every 14 people in the state of Indiana are involved in transportation. I think we don't do a very good job in blowing on our own horn to let everybody know about that. The other kind of interesting thing is there's over 14,000 trucking companies in the state of Indiana. I can tell you that basically 91% of the trucking companies out here are 5 trucks or less. That's a really staggering number when you start looking about how do we put this industry together and what we are doing on an everyday basis. And I think we need to let these people here across the street understand the real value of each and every one of our operations and how important this truck driver is. As I was trying to think of some things to say and do today, I talked about big words. Big words and I don't get along very good. But if we talk about the technology in the industry and how that's improved over the course of the years, we talked about the environmental issues of the trucking industry. I was telling some people the other day, the air going in the front of this truck over here behind me is dirtier than the air coming out of the exhaust pipe. And we don't do a good job of telling the public about that. We talk about not only the conservation stuff that we're doing out here. I can remember, and Daryl can remember. Daryl and I go way back a long ways. I think maybe back late 70s when we used to run some anhydrous ammonia together. So we've been up and down the pike together, and he's certainly been a dedicated individual and professional to keep doing what he's doing. But we talk about years ago, if a truck got 4 miles a gallon, that was pretty decent. We got trucks today that are doing 10 miles to the gallon of fuel. That's a really, really big increase for what we're doing. And then we talk about safety. Safety is paramount. Safety is paramount to everybody standing here listening to this program today. It's a really big, big deal. And I've got in your numbers and in your fact sheets, you can see that we've reduced the number of fatal truck accidents 69% since 1975. That's unheard of in the industry. But I know this truck, and I know our truck setting up there hooked to the tanker today, has got every kind of safety device on it. That thing's got a device on it that if it makes a quick turn or something like that, it kicks back to a cell phone that goes to the Grammar Safety Director. Almost every one of our trucks today are carrying cameras in them. It's not so much that we're watching what that driver is doing, as what we're watching what's happening around us. A really, really big monumental deal in the industry today. And I hold this phone up here today because, once again, I'm from the old school. I'm from grammar. I went to grammar school. But look and feel this and look at what the changes has happened in this phone in the last 5 years. It's huge. I remember in 1997 saying, I'll never own a computer. That wasn't going to happen to me. I served on a negotiated rulemaking in Washington, D.C. from 97 to 2000, and this is a true story. I carried a little black bag so it looked like I was carrying a computer. It was filled with magazines, but I didn't want to be embarrassed at that time. But I don't know what I would do without my phone and the technology that goes along with it. I was with one of my cohorts in the ATA back in the late, I guess it would have been about 2010. And when they put the collision avoidance system on the front of their trucks, they decreased their rear-end accidents 55%. This was a 400 truck operation. But that truck will tell you everything. Some of you are driving cars today that when you got the cruise set, you come up behind somebody, that car will back off. Those trucks will do the same thing. We're seeing all kinds of the changes there. But I think today, the word of the day that I want to bring out is the appreciation. And that's the appreciation for our truck drivers. I don't think they get near the respect that they need to have on an each and every day basis. They are here, and we're here today to show our appreciation to some of the hardest working people in the industry. They get it. They're there. They're on the front lines every day. And just like the phone that I showed you here and what was going on, that the deal is that these guys have seen the changes that happen each and every day of their daily life. They're the guys that are out there on the front line every day. They risk their life for every mile that they drive. And they're not only a truck driver, but they're the guy that they load the trucks lots of times. They unload the trucks lots of times. They fuel the truck lots of times. And at Grammar, they're the first line of representation for Grammar logistics that there is out here in the industry. So I think it's really, really important that we as a community say thank you to these individuals for what they do each and every day and how hard they really work. So if you've got a friend that's a truck driver, not only this week of being the one that really shows them appreciation and pats them on the back, but tell them what a good guy or a good lady they are. Tell them how important they are. Respect them as they go up and down the road and do the things that's helping each and every one of us on a daily basis. But Gary and Barb and Kelly and Sally, thank you for the opportunity to be here. And it's a great day for trucking in the state of Indiana. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shorty, for your leadership and relentless efforts at the state and national level as a strong voice for the trucking industry over these many years. It's now my pleasure to introduce Carrie Baylor, president of Baylor Trucking and a third-generation trucking industry professional. You would be hard-pressed to find anyone more supportive and appreciative of truck drivers. So, Carrie Baylor.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, IMTA, and all of the guests here today. 75 years ago, a young man from Milan, Indiana, asked a train conductor to slow down as the train passed through his small town of Milan. He wanted to hop off, although it wasn't a scheduled stop, so he could walk home and see his parents. This soldier was returning home after serving 4 years in the South Pacific as part of the first troops drafted from Indiana to serve during World War II. With his military stipend, he bought his first truck in 1945 to serve rural southeastern Indiana. When his son finished serving our country during Vietnam, together they transformed the family business from 7 trucks serving Indiana to over 200 trucks delivering essential goods nationwide. Their names are Chester and Robert Baylor. I am the granddaughter and daughter of Army veterans and truck drivers. Proudly, these men are my heroes. They are part of a federation of men and women who are on duty for this country 24/7, dedicated to ensuring that everything we need is delivered. And I ask you, I implore you with your hearts to recognize America's professional truck drivers as heroes in your hearts. Every week, around the clock, truck drivers are making sacrifices to ensure we have everything we need. Every Monday, we deliver chemotherapy here to Indiana. From chemotherapy to Christmas gifts, cranberry sauce to clothing, we deliver military parts to keep our front line safe, and medical supplies to help save your loved ones' lives. You and I won't know where we'll sleep tonight. We know where we'll get up and go to work tomorrow morning. But truck drivers, they don't live a regular schedule. They're on duty, on call. They live and deliver wherever they are needed, from emergency supplies for natural disasters, mop buckets, generators, and snow shovels. They turn the wheels for our ever-changing immediate needs. Over 80% of Indiana communities rely solely on trucks to move their goods. Hoosiers know that they're in good hands with safety technologies and safe driving behavior for America's truck drivers. Truckers spend over $9 billion a year in improved safety training and technology. Truck drivers are often first on the scene to help disabled motorists and hopping into action themselves. Whether it's calling 911 or being first on the scene, one of our company drivers just last month stopped his big rig on the interstate after he saw a disabled motorist hit an embankment, overturn his vehicle. He ran into action and pulled this injured man from his vehicle and extinguished the fire from his big rig before first responders were able to make the scene. We applaud this hero, Jeff Wills, for his bravery. Economists often say that trucking activity is the leading indicator for the economy, and that is true. But trucking is also essential to our economy. Over 200,000 trucking jobs in Indiana. As Shorty said, 1 out of every 14 jobs in our state. 94% of the goods manufactured in Indiana are transported by truck drivers. But when you hear these statistics, remember, it isn't a cool truck, a cool Kenworth supplied by the Palmer family, or a cool Freightliner with a great air horn to honk. It's the people. It's someone's dad, it's someone's sister, it's someone's grandfather moving America forward. In these turbulent times, we look for stability and constance in our lives to keep ourselves safe and comforted. We count on our faith. We find refuge in our convictions in our country. Despite COVID in these chaotic times, you can depend on the heroes of the highway to deliver as they have for years and generations. Just like the John Wesley quote behind me, our truck drivers will do all they can in all the ways they can, forever long they can, in all the places they can. Please join me with gratitude and appreciation in your hearts, saluting America's professional truck drivers. Thank you.
Can you feel that passion? You won't find anybody else that's more dedicated to truck drivers. Thank you, Carrie. At this time, I would like to introduce Eli McCormick, President and CEO of Bestway Express, a third-generation trucking industry professional and the current IMTA chairman.
Thank you, Gary, and may I add my thanks to all of you to be here today to celebrate those who make it possible for the trucking industry to exist. Those people being the professional men and women truck drivers in our nation. Similar to Carrie's story, my family's been in the trucking industry for nearly 75 years. As president of Bestway Express, a trucking company located down in Vincennes, Indiana, I am charged with ensuring our company is operating as efficiently and as effectively as possible. Without drivers who are dedicated to the profession, committed to their task, and vested as a professional truck driver, my company simply would not survive. None of the trucking companies represented here today would either. Truck drivers are the heart and soul of our industry and our individual businesses. You may have noticed that we have used the word professional in front of the words truck driver several times today. There's a reason for this. The reason is simply because there's a difference between someone who drives a truck for a profession and somebody that is a true professional truck driver. That is why every IMTA carrier member places hiring professional truck drivers at the forefront of their hiring processes and objectives. Our members aren't interested in hiring just steering wheel holders. They are focused on hiring the safest and the most efficient professional truck drivers out there on the road today. Just because someone drives a truck for a living does not necessarily make them a professional. A professional truck driver treats their truck as their office, and for those who operate in the long-haul environment, their truck is their home. A professional truck driver displays impressive driving skills. They can back their rig into places many of the motoring public would struggle to drive their cars straight through. They maneuver through city streets where other vehicles that have operators in them who seem to have death wishes as they actively and somewhat continuously can't seem to take their eyes off their phone. To add to the challenge, professional drivers have to constantly be aware of their surroundings, as even the pedestrians seem glued to their phones obliviously as they walk down the city streets. There are more distractions out on the road today than there has ever been in the history of our industry. Being a professional truck driver is a frame of mind, as a professional truck driver leaves their ego at home. They are not looking to teach other drivers a lesson or to chase down someone who just cut them off. Professional truck drivers are inherently safe drivers. They are constantly looking out for the other roadway traveler, doing their part to make sure everyone makes it home safely to their families. The professionalism of members and their drivers exhibit every day is why I am proud to be the chairman of the Indiana Motor Truck Association. Our membership puts safety at the pinnacle of everything we do, be it improved driver training, investment in advanced safety technologies in our own fleets, as well as active participation in industry safety initiatives at the local, state, and national level. We are all committed to being the safest we can be. Through our Safety and Maintenance Council, we ensure our members and their drivers and other professional staff have access to the most current data and training, continually improving our knowledge and skill set. Indiana Motor Truck Association members, professional men and women truck drivers, are the cream of the crop, and I am proud to stand here in celebration of them and repeat the words recently spoken by President Trump at the White House earlier this year when he held an event to celebrate truckers by saying, "Thank God for the truckers." Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you very much, Eli, and we truly appreciate your leadership of the chairman of the Indiana Motor Truck Association. Now, I would like to introduce Commissioner Joe McGinnis of the Indiana Department of Transportation. The roads and the highways are our lifeblood, our circulatory system. If we can't get through, if there's a blockage, we're in trouble. And I have to tell you that Joe does an absolutely excellent job of everything he can to make the roads in Indiana as good as they can be. I don't know if this is an official statistic, but it seems like it's hard to go any place without seeing construction, without seeing cones. Per capita, I gotta believe we're right up there with the number of roads that are being worked on, the number of improvements that are being made. But it's so important to us. I've worked with Joe since he took this job, and I got to tell you, he truly does care about trucks and making sure that we removing the obstacles to promote commerce. Especially over the last 6 months or so, there have been so many challenges, from places for our drivers to eat, where he helped us to get food trucks in rest areas, which has never happened before. Places for us to park through the help of the Indiana State Police. Just everything that you can imagine. There were so many challenges that came up, and unlike many other states, Indiana did not hesitate to respond quickly, remove the obstacles to allow us to keep moving. And Joe McGinnis was an important part of that. We worked together on safety, as Shorty talked about. There's nothing more important in our industry than safety. And I worked with Joe on improving safety in construction zones, one of the most important things here in Indiana. And I'm just saying that he truly does care, and he works hard for us. So it's really a pleasure to have him with us today. Joe McGinnis.
Good morning, and thank you to Gary and Kelly and the rest of the IMCA crew for the invitation to be here. Kelly, congratulations on the weather. I know you worked hard. It worked out. Beautiful day here in downtown Indianapolis, and I appreciate being here with you all. And congratulations to I've now learned, the professional truck driver. So I know there was a few hands that raised, and congratulations to the 2019 Truck Driver of the Year, but congratulations to you all and being able to celebrate this week. I know it's only 1 out of 52, but the other 51 weeks, we don't forget about you, especially here at NDOT. And we thank you for what you all do for us, whether we're in a pandemic or we're in normal times like we were just a few months ago. I have a script here, and I'll read a couple of statistics that I know. There are a lot of orange barrels, or a lot of barrier wall around the state of Indiana, a little over 1,100 projects that NDOT funded this year. And so, sorry for that. Sorry whether you drive 2 wheels or 18 wheels or somewhere in between. But we realize that the amount of freight that is moved, by the way, we're the 5th busiest commercial freight state in the entire country. 724 million tons of freight moving through our state every year. And so we realize the importance of those roads and bridges, whether it starts with an I as an interstate or it's a state highway somewhere, or it's local deliveries in Main Street, Indiana. We support a lot of our local partners as well on a lot of those projects. And so we want to make sure that those roads are taken care of around the state of Indiana. And we continue to add travel lanes. Just last week, I was down in Seymour as we cut a ribbon on a 13-mile stretch from Columbus on I-65 from Columbus down to Seymour. As we're adding travel lanes, and that's for safety for all. That's not just the trucks that are behind me here, but it's also for all motorists throughout the state. And we want to make sure that those products and the services are delivered efficiently and safely throughout the entire year. So we continue to knock those projects out. Again, I apologize for the orange barrels and the barrier wall, but we realize the essential work that you all do. And we need to make sure that those roads are in tip-top shape. As Gary mentioned, we've gotten to know each other since January of 2017, Gary. So we're coming up on 4 years here since we've started working on some projects together. And to be honest with you, some of those conversations we've had have been challenging and difficult. But most recently, we've been able to have a great relationship. And have had IMTA sitting next to us when we're having those work zone safety meetings, those road safety meetings that we've spent most of the winter working on, and how do we make our work zones safer for everyone. And so, Gary, thank you, and the support from your board and from your folks. Thank you for that. He mentioned the food trucks and the rest areas. That was important to me. The minute that President Trump offered that opportunity in March, during the start of the pandemic, I knew that I wanted to be, I'm a bit competitive. You can ask Woody Atwood. I'm a little competitive on the golf course, but I'm competitive everywhere. And I wanted to be the first state to be out there because I knew the importance of what a lot of these shutdowns meant to the truck drivers out there on the road. You didn't have a lot of those food opportunities anymore. A lot of the fast food or the Denny's that are oftentimes affiliated with the truck stops, they for the most part, they were closed. And so we needed to provide opportunities above and beyond what we normally can do. And so the executive order and the ruling coming down from USDOT allowed us to do that. Immediately jumped on the horn with Gary and said, what do you think? And within about a week to 10 days, I think we had food trucks at 22 of our rest areas around the state. We only have 29. And so we really kind of ramped up, and we were the first one in the country to get food trucks out there in our rest areas. And it wasn't the most popular decision. I think it was from IMTA, but it was not from many of the other folks that we were working with. But we were proud to get that out there and support you all and being able to do those type of projects around the state. Just little things like that I think are important in supporting you all, and I want to continue to do that. One of the things that we're working on, we realize that overnight parking is becoming more and more of a challenge as the freight numbers are projected to increase by 60% by 2045. Sounds like a long way off, but it won't be in my world, and so we need to prepare for that. So as we're looking at now is, bear with me here, when I say we're closing down rest areas, we're trying to slim down the number of rest areas because I want to go to more of a welcome center. They're very expensive to maintain, so we want to go more of a welcome center. What we're looking at doing is those vacated properties, turning those into truck-only parking facilities around the state with some minimal facilities and amenities, but the opportunity for additional truck parking. And as we're building out these welcome centers, any of you professional drivers out there, you hit like on I-70, the Greenfield rest areas. Those rest areas are massive. We have a lot of over 300 parking spaces on the eastbound and the westbound rest area out there. I would love to get to that on all of our rest areas around the state. So we will continue to support you because you have done an amazing job during the pandemic and prior to the pandemic in supporting all of us as consumers here in the state of Indiana, and we certainly appreciate that. I'll end with this, and then we'll have a proclamation on behalf of Governor Eric Holcomb. I end my every speech with this. I don't care if you're driving 2 wheels or 18 wheels. We all want to go home safely at the end of the day, and so my button here is buckle up, phone down. That's not just a lapel pin that I wear around just because I feel like I have to. It is important to me that we all go home safely at the end of the day. So Shorty pulled out his phone. I'm not going to pull out mine, but put those phones down. Whether you're in a work zone, wherever we're at, I always preach that to my neighbors. I ask that you do that to your neighbors and to your family members as well. Selfishly, I have a son that's getting ready to turn 16 in 1 week. Scares the crap out of me, and I want to make sure that he and every one of his friends and every one of your friends go home safely at the end of the day. So that's my safety spiel that I always went in with. With that, Eli, you're not done. You got to come back up here. We've got a proclamation. Thanks to Kelly, we've got a lot of whereases and what have yous here. But I want to present this to you on behalf of the state of Indiana and Governor Eric Holcomb. This is Executive Department of Indianapolis Proclamation. To whom all these presents may come, greetings. Whereas Truck Driver Appreciation Week is an important time for Indiana to pay respect and thank all of the professional truck drivers for their hard work and commitment in undertaking one of our economy's most demanding and important jobs. And Indiana is the crossroads of America, and 1 in 14 Indiana jobs are trucking industry jobs. And Indiana's 177,900 professional men and women truck drivers are at the heart of moving commerce in Indiana, transporting 94% of Indiana's manufactured tonnage and supporting 80% of Indiana's communities who exclusively depend on trucks to move their goods safely, securely, and on time. The professional truck driver also works hard to keep our highways safe so they and you can go home to your families each and every night. I swear that was not me saying that. That is also included in the proclamation, but thank you. And this year's Truck Driver Appreciation Week takes on a special significance considering the crucial role professional truck drivers have played during COVID-19 pandemic. Now, therefore, I, not me, Eric J. Holcomb, Governor of the state of Indiana, do hereby proclaim September 13th through the 19th, 2020 as Truck Driver Appreciation Week. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Eli, for accepting that proclamation. We certainly appreciate Governor Holcomb's focus and recognition of our industry during this important week. Again, we're very appreciative of everyone being here today. The past 6 months have been challenging for all of us, and I remind you that whatever we will face going forward, the professional truck driver will continue to head toward the crisis. It doesn't matter whether it's a flood or a pandemic or a hurricane. When we're hunkering down and when we're trying to get out of the way, they're headed in to provide relief. And they always have, and they always will. So, providing our essential needs. Thank you all very much for coming. Be safe as you travel home.